We're gonna pimp a ride. In 2022, you need to drive. You need to drive, honey. You need to drive. You heard me. Ha! Hi guys, welcome back again to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys how to buy your first car in the UK, and this is following my video I did where I shared how to get your UK driver's license. And most of you all guys have been interested in buying a car, probably because you are family people and you want to know what goes into buying a car in the UK. Well, so as your internet sister, I'm going to be giving you all of the juicy tips you need to know if you want to buy your first car in the UK. Stay tuned and watch this video right until the end. I'm also going to be leaving all of the links of the websites that you can use to buy either a new car or a used car, or whether you want to use a car loan or whatever. I'm going to be leaving all of them in the description box, and you can check them out and contact them, and they are going to sort you out. I've outlined some tips that you need to consider, or some tips you would need to think about or put in place if you want to buy your first car in the UK. This is because I have bought my first car somewhere last year, and so far so good. It's not giving me any headache at all. It's been like mine sweetheart. So driving is very necessary, especially if you have family, or even if you are single but you want to be doing this, especially if you want to be doing agency shifts and you want to be traveling around the UK. Okay, so the things you need to consider if you want to buy a car is the type of license you have. And I explained this in my other video, because I told you guys that if you have a manual license, you can drive both the manual and the automatic car. But if you have the automatic only license, you cannot drive a manual car. You can only drive the automatic car. So if you have the automatic only license, it means you should be considering buying an automatic only car. And somebody asked me if automatic cars are that common. Yes, automatic cars are actually that common, because I drive an automatic car, and because now most of the cars that are common are electric, convertible, and the likes. So automatic cars are now a bit common to get than it used to be before. The only problem is automatic cars are quite a bit expensive than the manual cars, and they are quite a bit expensive in terms of buying and in terms of maintaining them. Just know this: what type of car do you want to buy? Consider that before you go into buying the car. Number two is the type of car itself. Do you want to buy a used car, a new car, a slightly used car, an electric car, or a convertible car? So if you want to buy a used car, you know that I want to buy a used car. What should I look out for in a used car? If you want to buy a brand new car, you know that you are going in for a brand new car. If you want to buy an electronic car, a convertible car, you need to think about these things. The next thing is funding of the car. How are you going to fund the car? So we have the self-fund, and then we have the loan. But it's not everybody that can afford it, especially if it is a new car, which costs thousands and thousands of pounds. It's wiser to use the loan rather than coughing out that big sum of money just to buy a new car. Or sometimes if it's even a used car, but it's a bit expensive because of the type of car, because of the year of the car. So if you want to use the loan, you can use the bank loan, you can use the individual or the private loan systems. And some things that they consider is like your credit point and then your deposit. Some of them require you to pay some deposit, and then the remaining will be split over a period of time. And they look at your credit point and your employment history, your bank account details before they loan you this money. Most of the times they take between 150 to 200 for smaller cars, and above 200 to 500 for the bigger cars. It depends on the type of the car, the brand of the car, the year of the car. So consider all of these things before you know what you are going into. Now, top tips to use if you are buying especially a used car. And I am giving these tips because I bought a slightly used car, And these are the guidelines that I use. So I'm going to be giving you things to consider, solid things to consider, especially if you are buying a slightly used car or a used car. The nature of the roads in this country are really, really narrow. Like I can't come to terms with it. The roads are tiny. If you are a first-time driver, or if you are driving for the first time in the UK, it doesn't mean you don't know how to drive already. You know how to drive, but you need to get used to how tiny the roads are. It's better to go for a used car that is easy to maintain and easy to run, so that it doesn't cost you too much of using this car. I hope I'm making sense. This is just an elderly advice I am giving you. Okay, right. So things or top tips to consider, 10 top tips to consider if you are buying a used car, is the fuel consumption or the engine capacity of the car. You don't want to go and be buying a car that has an engine capacity of 3 liters, 2.5 liters, or even 2 liters. That is too much for you as a first-time buyer or as somebody that is trying to establish yourself. I personally think it is too much. You can go for anything between 1 liter, 1.5, 1.6, 1.8 maximum is okay. Yeah, so think about the engine capacity or the fuel consumption of the car. Otherwise, most of your money is going to be going into buying fuel to fuel the car. Number 2 is the year of manufacturing of the car. You don't want to go and buy a car that was manufactured before you were born. Would you like to do that? No, you wouldn't. Don't go and buy a car that was manufactured before you were born. At least you need to come up a bit, okay? So the year of the car, because the older the car, the more road tax you are going to be paying. Sometimes the car has been used for more time, so it means that the carbon dioxide emission is going to be high. So consider the year of the car. The next thing you have to consider is the carbon dioxide emission, which I have already touched on. The more carbon dioxide the car emits, the more road tax you pay. And then we also have, we call the ultra emission zone. In London, there are some areas that are called the ultra emission zone. So when you are driving through these areas and your car has an amount of carbon dioxide it emits, and you want to drive through those areas, it means you have to pay a fee or a fine. How did they call it? Is it fee or fine? I'm not sure, but I have to pay some amount of money before driving the car through that area. If you do not do that and you drive through, by the time you get home within 48 hours, you will have a ticket. You will have a penalty. You need to put this in mind when you are buying the car. The next thing is insurance. How much are you going to be paying for the insurance for the car? Obviously, as a first-time driver, your insurance premium is going to be high already because they consider you to be a risk to the road, especially because you are just driving for the first time. And things that also causes your insurance premium to go high is like where you park the car, whether you are going to be using the car for other things apart from work, whether you are going to be putting children in the car, because they consider the fact that if you are going to be putting children in the car, you're going to be driving a bit more careful. So all of these things come into play. And what you can do is when you see the car you are interested in, you can go online, put the number plates of the car online, and all the details about the car is going to come out. Also, if you want to know how much insurance you're going to be paying, you can go to the insurance companies online, put in the car number online, and the insurance companies are going to be giving you a quota so that you have an idea of how much you should be estimating for that particular kind of car, because some of the cars' insurances are higher than the others. Another thing you should consider is the service, the MOT, and the maintenance of the car. If you are a new person trying to start life, you're not going to be buying a Bentley, a G-Wagon, a BMW V5. You get it. With time, if you want to afford those things, you can't afford them because obviously there are car loans that you can get and you'll be paying bit by bit towards that. But if you buy these cars as a new time driver, the servicing is obviously expensive. MOT, which is done every year, is going to be a bit expensive, and maintaining the car is going to be expensive. So consider these things, the maintenance and the servicing of the car. Also consider the number of users that have already used the car. Sometimes you can see a car advert and they are telling you 8 people have already used the car. Like, seriously? It's not that it's not like it's a bad thing for 8 people to already use the car you are going to be driving, but think of it. 8 people. What happened before these 8 people are just changing the car, passing it from one person to the other? So consider there's a number of owners that have actually owned the car. Also check the car's log book. So we have what we call the V5, which is the car log book. That is the number of times the car has gone for servicing. It gives you a good servicing history of the car. It's not every car that has this V5. So you should check the car's V5 and the log book. Another thing you should check is the mileage of the car. That is how many miles the car has been used for. So if a car has been used, like used over hundreds and hundreds of miles, it means the car has been used like used. So the bodywork can be fine, the bodywork can be perfect, but the mileages are too much. Also consider ulez, ULEZ. There are some cars that are not ulez compliant. And if your car is not ulez compliant, it's not everywhere that you can drive this car through, especially here in London. Also consider the fuel type of the car, whether it is diesel or it is petrol. If it is diesel is a bit expensive than petrol in the UK. And also when you are driving a diesel car through certain zones, especially in London, you are going to be paying a certain a certain charge. They are going to be charging you a bit more because it's a diesel car, you are driving through these areas. And also diesel cars are believed to be a bit expensive to maintain or to keep. That is what I know. I don't know how true is that. Let me know in the comment section if you know about this also. Tax of the car. The more carbon dioxide the car emits, the more tax you are going to be paying. The older the car is, the more tax you are going to be paying. So consider these things. Carbon dioxide and the car age contributes towards the taxing of the car. And mind you, you can't drive a car in the UK if you have not taxed the car. It is a criminal offense. You will be banned. So don't move a car when you haven't taxed the car. I remember when I was buying my car, when they came to deliver to me, and the guy was like, the delivery guy was like, oh, you have to tax the car. I was like, tax the car, tax the car, tax the car. I repeated it 3 times. So he realized I didn't even know what he was talking about. He said, oh yes, you have to tax the car. You have to actually pay for tax for the car before you can actually move the car. I was like, seriously? Okay, so you have to tax the car. You have to make sure the car has a valid MOT before you can move the car, and the car has a valid insurance before you can move the car. And these things are the duties of the car keeper to do before keeping the car. The last but certainly not the least is where you are going to be parking this car. Parking is a big deal, and parking most of the times is not free in this UK. Unlike our country where we just drive our car and park anywhere. No, here parking is a big deal. It's not everywhere you can park the car. It's not in certain times. Some people, like the control zones, there are some time schedules that if you are parking there, you have to be paying. So you have to literally be paying for parking, paying for parking. If you don't take it, the parking charges can even take a chunk of your money. And if you don't park right, you are going to be fined. You are going to be fined. So consider where to park your car, especially if you don't have a garage in your house, before buying the car. As I said before, if you are a first-time driver, it is very wise and prudent for you to buy a used car, and especially a tiny car, because the roads are tiny. So get used to the roads with your tiny car, and when you feel comfortable about the roads and you can maneuver your way through, you can get your dream Bentley G-Wagon, VW V5, V8, V10, I don't know what it is. Until we meet again in my next video, guys, it's bye for now. Adios.